Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another lecture. Sir, in today's class, we are going to study a very important model, a very important topic, that is the SFA framework. And believe me, this model or this concept is very important, that it is almost tested. The testing probability is 50%. Like for example, if it is tested in the March attempt, it is then it is not tested in June attempt, and then again I have seen this many times that it is tested in the September attempt. So it means that it is tested in the alternate attempts every now and then, and sometimes it is tested in the like you can say in the consecutive attempts, like in March and then June again, or maybe in June then September again. So it is that much important topic, and that is the SFA framework. And you know what this framework teaches you, and why this framework, and for what purpose this framework is used? It is basically used to evaluate the proposed strategy, because up till now we were studying that how to make a strategy, right? We were doing the environment analysis, the external environment analysis, the internal environment analysis, Porter 5 forces, Porter diamond, pestle, Porter value chain, strategic capabilities, SWOT analysis, TOES metrics, everything we were doing to make the strategies. All right. But now we are at this stage that we are proposed with the strategy, and as a business leader we have to evaluate that whether or not this strategy should be accepted or not, whether to accept this strategy, this proposed strategy. Focus on my word. I am saying the proposed strategy, the strategy which is being presented in front of you, that this is the strategy, this is the plan, this is the idea. Tell us, should we accept it, or should we reject it? Whenever this is the scenario, the model you should use is the SFA framework, and that is the model which will help you, right? So the assessment of the business strategy which is proposed. Before deciding whether to choose a particular business strategy, an assessment should be carried out to judge the merits and demerits of that strategy. And strategy should be evaluated for it. Strategy should be evaluated for it for three criteria. SFA framework tells us the three criteria, that check the strategy on these three criteria. If you find the green signal, if you find the positive answer in all three criteria, then go for the strategy. If you find the negative answer or the negative result in each or any of these, try to change the strategy, or try to find some other ways, or maybe reject the strategy, right? So it is that kind of framework, it is that kind of useful framework it is, right? So the criteria are suitability, feasibility and acceptability, and that is what the SFA framework stands for. Remember and keep in mind that I have not explained up till now what is suitability, what is feasibility, and what is acceptability. I'm just creating a background into your mind, that why this model is being used, so that you are never confused, and so that you are never, cramming it and root learning it. It will always remember, or it will always stay in your mind for long, long ages. Now let's move forward and talk about each of the element of the SFA framework in detail. So here we are with the first element, that is the suitability. From the word itself, it is very clear that it is talking about some sort of suitability of the strategy, right? Whether or not that strategy or that proposed strategy suits your business or not. And you know what, in specific, what it means, does it address the strategic requirement given in the circumstances and the situation? That means that whether or not this strategy suits with your overall business objective. Let me give you an example. Like for example, um, there is a person who wants to become a lawyer. There is a person who wants to become a lawyer, and the person comes to you and says that I am going to take the admission in the ACCA, I am going to take the admission in CPA, I am going to take the admission in ICAW or CFA. What do you think? Is it a good strategy? Should he accept this strategy? Someone has guided him that if you want to become a lawyer, go and pursue ACCA. You will become ACCA or lawyer. What do you think? Is it a good strategy? Is it a good suggestion? Not at all, sir, because it doesn't suits with the overall objective. Your overall objective is to become lawyer. Go and pursue the lawyer's program, right? Go and pursue the lawyer's degree. Similarly, if your objective is to qualify as soon as possible, your objective is to qualify as soon as possible, and on the other hand, you have made a strategy that you will only appear in one single paper in each attempt. Do you think that the strategy of appearing in single paper each attempt is the suitable strategy as per your overall objective to qualify as soon as possible, to qualify fast? No, sir, not at all. Because it doesn't suit with my overall objective. Similarly, for business as well, whatever the strategy you are proposing, whatever the strategy you are proposing, you should check and see that whether or not it is suitable or it is aligned with your overall business objective. For example, you are a welfare organization. You are a welfare organization, and you have made a strategy that you will charge the high prices from the customer. From from which point of view you think that it is suitable with your overall business organization point of view? Your business organization overall objective is to provide the high quality products, right? This is your overall objective, and you are purchasing and you are trying to do the long term contracts with the supplier who is providing you the standardized quality material. Is it suitable with your overall objective? No, sir, this is not, because my objective is to provide the high quality product, and I am doing the contract with the supplier who is providing me the standardized raw material. How can I be able to make the high quality product? So this is not aligning with your overall objective. That is the purpose of the suitability. Then, does it solve the current problem or achieve the business objective? That means the effectiveness. Let me give you an example. For example, right now your purchase cost is shooting very high. It's increasing because the material which you are purchasing, due to inflation, that material cost is touching sky. It is touching the sky because of the inflation. Now you made a strategy that in order to solve this problem, you will either import the material, right? Or you will produce the material by yourself. You will make the material by yourself. So these are the two strategies which you have come up with. Now I want you to think that if the from the country where you are importing the material, if your exchange rate if your exchange rates are too high too high, and ultimately the cost of import is equal equal to your purchase cost of the local material, do you think that this strategy of importing the raw material is suitable? Is it able to solve your problem? No, sir, it is not able to solve my problem, because even after importing, my purchase cost is at the same level. My objective was to reduce the cost. My problem was the high cost, and due to import exchange rate, high exchange rate, adverse exchange rate, my cost is again at the same level. So it is not solving my problem. So now the other option is the to produce itself, and you will see that whether or not this production option is also suitable or not. Maybe there is a chances that this option is also, or maybe the cost of production is higher than the cost of local purchase. So again, this is not a suitable strategy, right? So this is how you will see whether or not the strategy is suitable or not. Does it make sense keeping in mind the current condition? The way I give you the example of the student who want to become a lawyer and he's pursuing the accountancy qualification. So it doesn't make any sense, right? So you have to see that is it making any sense? And then its advantages and disadvantages, for example, cost to benefit analysis. For example, the way I talked there, that you will see that whether or not the strategy is giving you the required benefits or not. For example, if you are going for a strategy that is giving you few advantages, but the disadvantages are way more higher than the benefits which you are getting. So it is from nowhere a wise decision to go for that strategy whose benefits are lesser than disadvantages, right? Are you getting my point? So that is how you evaluate the suitability of any option. Now that we have understood this, let's move ahead and see the next element in the SFA framework, that is the feasibility. That is the feasibility. So when we talk about the feasibility, it's very simple. It's very simple, believe me. Number one thing, you need to check it whether or not it is practicable. Now, for example, if a student comes and say that I am trying to pursue or complete the ACCA qualification in 1 year, or I'm trying to pursue the whole chartered accountancy CA qualification in 1 year. So because my objective to qualify as soon as possible, and I'm trying to do it in 1 year. So it is suitable, right? Because it aligns with the overall objective. But believe me, it's not practicable. It's not practicable because the time frame which you have selected, or which you have worked out a time frame, is not practicable, right? And that is the one thing in the feasibility. And the other thing is that the sufficiency of the resources and competencies. Remember, we talked about the strategic capabilities. So do you have the capability to do or pursue that strategy, right? For example, you are saying that we are going to acquire a company, we are going to acquire our competitor, and you do not have the funds to even purchase the half of that company, and you're saying that I'm going to acquire that competitor, or maybe I'm going to acquire a distribution company and I will do the distribution myself. It will save my cost, and you do not have any money to purchase the company. So that means that you do not have the sufficient resources, financial resources you do not have. So it includes the financial resources. It includes financial resources either through debt or equity. Whatever the sources from where you are sourcing the finance, you need to check whether or not you have the financial resources to pursue the strategy. Management skill, whether or not you have the technical skills to pursue the strategy. For example, let's say you said that now we are going to start our e-commerce business, as we have already discussed this thing. So do you have the expertise of carrying out the e-commerce business? Do you have the expertise of maintaining the website? Do you have the expertise of management of inventory aligned with the website? Do you have the logistic expertise? Not at all. So you need to check whether or not you have the skills required to pursue the strategy. Marketing skill. Do you have the required marketing skills which you need to market your strategy or your strategic move so that you can attract more customers? You need to ask this question. Skilled staff. Obviously, who is going to, you know, on field, who is going to pursue the strategy, who is going to make this thing reality? You are on the board, you are making the strategy, plans, ideas. The staff, your employees, your worker, they are the one who are going to make it a reality. So do you have the enough staff and they have the enough skill? You need to ask this question in the feasibility area. And then the technology and the technical skills. Do you have the required technology to do this? As I said that for e-commerce, do you have the website? Do you have the data centers? Do you have the security arrangement? Do you have the I would say the inventory management system? So these are the things which you need to ask yourself when you are evaluating the feasibility option. All right, now let's move forward and talk about the last perspective, or the last element of the SFA framework, that is the acceptability. And you know what? Who give the acceptability? These are the stakeholders. These are your stakeholders, and you need to check whatever you are going to do. Are your stakeholders going to accept it or not? Right? So you need to ask this thing, and who are your most important, I would say, the the stakeholders who are the most important, I would rate them on the top of the list. These are your shareholders, the one who has provided you the finances, the one who has elected or selected you in the board of directors, because board of directors are selected by shareholders. So if you are doing anything which they do not like, do you think that they are going to give you money? Do you think that they are going to select you? They will remove you. They will pick you and throw you out of the office of the board of directors because you are doing something that they do not like, right? So you have to always take care of this thing, that whether or not whatever you are going to do, they will accept it or not, right? So does it address the strategic requirement in a way that it will be acceptable to the significant stakeholders? And you know what the shareholder needs from you? Shareholder needs one thing, the main thing, profits. So you have to check that whether or not the strategy is going to give you the profits. For example, you need to check the npv, irr, payback period. So these are the things. If you, and you won't be required to calculate them in the sbl paper. What you need to do is that you would be given the values in the scenario, and you just have to evaluate that whether the npv is positive, whether the irr is greater than the required rate of return, whether or not the payback period is too long or too short. That is the thing which you need to consider, right? It is the competition between the return and the risk, because obviously if the strategy is too risky, shareholder would be afraid, shareholder would be scared to accept it, because there is a risk that they would lose their wealth, there is a risk that the strategy would go wrong and they will lose all money, right? So they will always see that how much return they are getting as compared to the risk they need to take for that strategy, right? Amount of additional finance required from the shareholder, because if you are asking very high amount of money from them for the specific strategy, they would be reluctant, because the more the money, the more the consideration, the more the fear, the more the tension. That is why they would be not, they would not be that much acceptable to this thing, right? So you have to check this thing, that how much money you need in this strategy, and then whether or not they are ethical or not. And you know what, not only the shareholders, there is some other people as well, like your management, like your employees, your government, society, right? Your labor union. So if you are doing something that is against their benefit, that is going to reduce their salaries, that is going to reduce their bonuses, that is going to layoffs, that is going to fire them, right? That will result in firing the employees. So the labor union will come into the action, the society will come into the action, right? The employees are going to go and strike, that because you are decreasing our salaries, you are decreasing our bonuses, you are firing us. Also, if you are doing something unethical, or if you are doing some fraud, the government will also not accept this strategy if it includes the fraudulent and unethical things, right? So that is what you need to consider, that whether or not your all stakeholders, from shareholders to your government to your employees, management, workers, labor, society, labor union, everyone, whether or not they do accept it or not, you need to check, right? So this was the SFA framework. But now let me just give you more knowledge about it, that how it is tested in the exam and how you are going to prepare it. So in exam, mostly the SFA framework is applied in the scenarios of mergers and acquisition. All right, it is required to applied on the mergers and acquisition. And you know what? Sometime examiner specifically asks you to apply the SFA framework. If examiner specifically asks you to apply the SFA framework, then you will make the proper headings of suitability, feasibility, and acceptability. All right. But if examiner doesn't require you to specifically apply the SFA framework, then still you know that in merger or acquisition scenario, SFA framework is the suitable scenario. It is the model that you should use. But now you are not bound. You do not have the mandatory requirement, you do not have the compulsion to make these kind of headings. You can make your answer general into the paragraph, because you know sometimes many of the students they stay confused that which point should be written below the suitability heading, which should be written below feasibility heading, which should be written in the acceptability heading. But If the examiner is not saying that make the headings of the SFA, then why you are making it difficult by yourself? You don't need to apply the SFA headings. Apply the model into your mind, but do not write the SFA name into the paper. And that is how you are going to make it easy for you. And that is how you are going to score good marks, right? So in the general understanding, suitability means this. This is the same thing I have copied from the above slide. But in the merger and acquisition scenario, what you need to specifically check along with these things, you need to check about the target company, because sometimes you do the oversee, oversee, oversee acquisition, like you are acquiring some company that is existing in other country, so that you get the access to the other country market directly. You don't need to go there, set up a business, start from the scratch. You will directly acquire a business which is already running there, and you will have your presence there. So you have to first identify or evaluate that whether this target country is suitable for your business. Like, remember I told you that not every country is suitable for all the businesses. Maybe the demand of your product is not that much in that country, right? So you need to check. For example, if you're talking about the electrical vehicle in Pakistan, in India, or in other South Asian countries, there are not so many electrical vehicle charging stations. So if you are starting any business of the electrical vehicle manufacturing here, obviously the demand is not going to be that much high. So there is a chances that the country which you are selecting, it is not suitable for your strategy. Your strategy is to, wide up or spread your electrical vehicle product range, or the, I would say, geographical range. So you are going into the South Asian countries, but they are not suitable target country for you. You need to check the target company as well. That, for example, you are going to purchase a company who has the manufacturing facility, but the manufacturing facility is not so big that it would be able to produce or manufacture your product at the scale you want to produce. Maybe it can produce like 100 units in a year, but you want to produce 10,000 units. So it is not a suitable target company. First you talk about the country and then company, and then you will see the home country as well, that what you are doing in the home country, is it allowed for you or not. For example, if you are acquiring a company here in the target country, would you be able to manage all the operations from sitting in the home country or not? You need to check, because obviously the other criteria is that whatever you are going to do, or you are going to acquire another company, let's say it's you are company A and you are going to acquire company X. So you have to check whether or not you both are a perfect match or not. All right, because whenever you merge something, whenever you acquire another company, you always check that whether or not you are the perfect match or not. All right, if you're not a perfect match, you won't be able to realize the synergies, you won't be able to bring out all the benefits from it, right? So you need to first look at yourself as well. So when you will look at yourself and then the target company as well as the target country, then you would be able to identify that you are a perfect match or not, you are suitable for each other or not. And that is how you're going to apply the suitability. Now let's move forward and talk about the feasibility. So in feasibility, you will see the shareholders confidence, because if they are not confident, they are not going to give you any money, they're not going to give you any fund. And you have to check your gearing ratio as well, because if your gearing is too high, the bank is not going to give you any loan, the bank is not going to give you any funds. So if you are not going to get any funds, how you are going to make it feasible, right? How you are going to acquire another company, how you are going to merge another company if you do not have the funds? So you have to check this thing. Human resource and the expertise, the ways we said that, do you have the expertise through which, obviously, because there are two different companies and you're going to merge them, you're going to integrate them. Both of them have the different culture, both of them have the different environment, both of them have the different ways of doing things. So if you are going to merge them, you have to make sure that the transition is very smooth, the clashes are not there. Because if you are not able to transition both the companies together, believe me, it is going to be a mess, it is going to be the waste of the investment, because both the companies would be clashing with each other, right? So you have to be very careful in doing the transition, in making the I would say centralized or the combined management or the combined company, because most of the time when you acquire some company, the employees, let's say you are company A, you are acquiring company X, so the company X employees, they will always have a fear that they will be victimized here, because they are not from the parent company. They would not be given that much right, that much benefit which the employees of the company A will get. So you have to make sure that you bring or you take their trust as well, so that they would work with all the honesty, with all the efforts, in order to make the merger successful, right? Technological skills and expertise of the oversee merger and acquisition, that do you have the specific expertise in evaluating the mergers, in doing the merger, in finalizing the mergers deal? Because sometimes for this thing, you appoint the consultants who are expert in mergers and the acquisition. So if you have the expertise, do it yourself. But if you do not have the expertise, appoint some expert who can help you, who can make it feasible for you. All right. Now the other thing is that acceptability. So the acceptability, I've already explained you that if your company is a private or the family owned business, so then the in private and the family owned business, most of the time the shareholders or the owners, they are the board of directors. They are the same things, right? So if they are same, then they are going to accept the proposal, because they are the one who is proposing the strategy, and they are the one who is going to approve it, because they are not different people. Now, the strategy is proposed by the board of directors and accepted by the shareholders. So if they both are same, they are going to ultimately accept it, right? And if it is a listed company, that means that the large public is the owner of the company. Then you have to find out the merits, demerits, NPV, IRR, payback, and everything, right? Risk appetite. You need to check what is the risk level or the risk capacity. Appetite means the capacity. What is the capacity of the risk of your shareholders? Because if their risk appetite or the capacity is very low, they're not going to accept the high risk investment, high risk strategy. And so that is how you need to evaluate based on their risk appetite. If it is higher, they will accept the high risk strategy. If it is lower, they will not accept the high risk strategy. Wealth position. Sometimes you feel like that the owners, they are in the crisis. They do not have the funds. It is that they want to invest, but they do not have the fund. They are going through a crisis. So you have to check this thing as well, that what is the wealth position of your shareholders is, and also the ethical values of your shareholders, of your management, of your employees, of your society, of the laborers. If they would all accept it, then you can go and proceed with the successful merger and the acquisition. So I hope that I was able to explain each and everything in detail. Also, not only the SFA framework, but also its application in the scenario of the merger and the acquisition, and how you are going to prepare it for the exam as well. So see you all in the next lecture. Till then, take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.